back up.
Welcome to Jennifer to the Rescue. I'm Jennifer Johnson. It's always a pleasure to be here. And we've got a great year started. 2016 looks like it's going to be a big one. And we're here at the beautiful Wofford Theater. And I thank Logan Street Signs and Banners for being my wonderful, wonderful sponsors. If you've never checked them out, you need to do that. You can also check out my website at jennifertotherescue.com. And my phone number, if you are interested in calling me or you want to know more about me, 317-513-6823. The way I said that, it sounded kind of funny. If you want to know more about me, you can also email me at info at jennifertotherescue.com. That would be a good email for me. Always so happy to come in.
Use the word private. It's archaic.
Oh,
It's typecast.
okay.
It conjures up thoughts of what the movies and the TV shows show an investigator to be. So I just stay away from that.
Well, this is going to be fun then, because I want to know because I have a vision in my mind of
I'm
what
sure
the
you
old
do.
stereotype might have been, and I thought that was not a bad image, but you obviously you didn't just one day wake up and say, I think I want to be
No.
I want to do this investigative services stuff.
No.
So how did you, tell us a little bit about you.
I went to college. I've got a marketing degree. The first couple of years out of school was in grocery management.
Really?
I recognized,
Interesting.
it was business
Mhm,
management. I recognized I did not want to be in grocery management for the rest of my life. I answered an ad for an insurance company that turned out to be a claims adjuster. I had never been exposed to an insurance claim before, fortunately.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I was one. Well, that was good training. I stayed in the claims industry with different companies for 17 years. I was a claims adjuster, I was an examiner, I was a litigation specialist, I was a manager. Throughout those 17 years, I recognized the way the insurance industry was, and it did not quite fit with my way of dealing with people, for people. So I thought, okay, I'm going out on my own, and by then I recognized I could be an investigator. I had the experience to get my license as a licensed private eye, and so I did. You've got to have there's certain requirements for the
Sure.
state of Indiana, and you have to appear before the professional licensing agency, et cetera, et cetera. You've got to go through everything and show your experience levels and references and a lot of other things. But I did that, and then I opened up my own firm. It was called Macke, Marple, and Holmes.
Okay.
Now, obviously, that was a play on words with Miss Marple
Oh,
and Sherlock Holmes.
I hadn't even picked up
Most
on
people
that.
didn't. I had one attorney that recognized that once. No one else ever did. But within a couple of years then, I took over the name of Vandermoere from an individual by the name of Lee Vandermoere. He was a independent claims adjuster. Now, he just
I
did
see.
work for insurance companies. I knew him, I knew Lee, wonderful individual, great guy. But he retired about the same year that I started up. So when he retired, I bought his name.
Wow, I've never heard of that before.
And
That's
he had
interesting.
2 accounts. I still have those 2 accounts
Oh, okay.
after all these years. And that was in 92, end of 92, 92, 93. So from 93 on, I've been working as an independent by myself.
Wow, I've never heard of that before.
So it's 40 years from 75 when I started working insurance claims, which I still do till current day.
Wow. I'm sitting here thinking, that's an interesting story. And you just knew, well, it's just kind of, I never thought about it, but he was a private investigator.
No, he was
Okay.
a claims adjuster.
You said, okay.
And he worked for insurance companies. Now, most people aren't aware of those, but that's the whole point, because insurance companies don't really want you to be aware of the claims adjusters. They're supposed to be in the background. And of course, this was a long time ago. Nowadays, more insurance companies utilize their own in-house or staff adjusters, investigators, if they have such, or whatever. They're even going to in-house attorneys again. It's kind of cyclical, but that's why you don't hear of them much.
Now, before we go any further, tell people how they get a hold of you. We're going to go into in the next segment for sure. We're going to talk about the different kinds of, cases, files you've had, the things. But we want to make sure they know how to reach you.
I can be reached in multiple ways, either by my website, vminvestigations.com. My email addresses of mmacke@vminvestigations.com, or my regular email of mdmacke@sbcglobal.net. I'm also in the Yellow Pages and on other networking.
Yes, and actually I've met you in a couple different things, so that's why it's
Yes.
like obvious you should be on this show. So you are not a detective. You are, I'm looking in the notes here, you are not in law enforcement. You're
No.
not a detective. So what's the difference, I
Difference
guess?
between a detective, some people call me detective, but that's
Okay.
misappropriation of the word. Detective is law enforcement, I'm an investigator. One's civil, one's criminal.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Good way
that's
to,
the easiest way to look
yeah,
at it.
Sure.
Criminal is the public, is the public servant, the law enforcement, the police officer, the deputy, or whomever, and then you've got the private, which is what I don't like to be called, but it's the private segment of the community, which is the civil aspects.
Okay. Civil aspect. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to go over a bunch of things, and you're going to tell us how you, because I know you also have all the information on how you become, what license, the licensure, is that right?
Licensing.
Licensing process is to become what you are, and
Okay.
we'll talk about the different file types. So we got a lot to do, so don't go away. Come back, join us. We'll be right back with Mike Macke from Vandermoere and Macke Investigational Services. I said that wrong.
That's right.
You know what I mean. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Well, welcome back to Jennifer to the Rescue. And I these breaks are just not long enough because we start talking about, and then all of a sudden it's time to go back on. We're here with Michael Macke with Vandermoere and Macke Investigative Services.
Right.
And we're going to talk about a couple things. We do want to thank Logan Street Signs and Banners. Every time we come in here, we're just thankful for the opportunity. And we're here at the beautiful Wofford Theater. So just check us out if you get a chance. Check out jennifertotherescue.com, and it'll give you more information on me. What did you have to do to become a investigative, what do you call yourself?
Licensed investigator.
Licensed investigator. Because we were talking about private is old-fashioned.
Well,
Or-
that's just the way I do it.
Yeah.
That's just my. It used to be, and we'll just do this real briefly.
Sure.
It used to be that the state of Indiana would license an individual, and that individual would have to obtain these requirements, which is 4,000 hours, or essentially it's 2 years of experience working under another licensed individual. That
Oh.
could be another investigator, that could be as a police officer, as law enforcement, that could be in insurance claims, that's where I came from.
Sure.
It could be in a number of different things, but it would still have to be okayed, recognized by the licensing board. Just because an individual worked for an employer that may have been in that realm doesn't mean that you had incurred that experience.
Okay.
So not even all police officers, if they just did traffic duty, they probably aren't going to get their investigator's license. I obviously can't say that, but
Right.
for sure.
Right.
But that's the way it works. And then also, a person can be considered for a license if they've got a criminal justice degree, a 4-year degree in criminal justice, or a related degree from an accredited institution.
Okay.
Okay, not a 1-year degree. We're talking a 4-year degree.
4-year degree.
Okay.
Okay.
And then other education, there's other courses, and then of course you have to have your references and that kind of information. And nowadays, in the last several years, the state has changed it to licensing a firm as opposed to an individual.
Okay.
But the individual is the one whose credentials are being addressed.
Sure. I
But
would
that
think they'd
individual
have to.
will not get a license. The name of his company or firm will get the license.
Okay.
And then you get into the broader area of insurance requirements and that kind of thing.
Oh, sure. Well, you probably had all kinds of have all kinds of different things, and people are probably thinking, "What does he do? What kind of things does he do?" So, can you tell us what you do?
I can do anything. We do polygraph exams. Now, I am not a polygraph examiner. I'm not licensed as an examiner, but I have access to polygraph examiners, and it's under my name and my office, and I sit with the examiner while we do the exam. So I'm fully aware of how an exam is established, the questions, how they're developed, and if it even is appropriate or not for any given circumstance.
Okay.
So I can consult on that situation as well. Vehicle appraisals, for example, would be a variety of vehicles for a total loss. Maybe an insurance company has declared your vehicle as a total loss, and you're not getting quite as much money as you think you should get. That's where I could come in as a second opinion or as an arbitrator under the arbitration clause of the policy for a first party claim. If it's a third party claim, then I could come in still as an independent and provide additional information to help shore up the proper value of that vehicle. For divorces, for estates, he says, she says, I can come in with a value. If someone's restored a vehicle and they need to get it insured for the value they have into it, I look at vehicles that way and put a value on it. That's no different than anything else that I do as an investigator. I'm a fact finder.
Okay.
Black and white.
Right.
What I provide my client is information that they will then do with what they want. I have no control over how someone utilizes my information. but my information is going to be black and white,
Interesting. That's
factual.
factual, yes.
Yes.
And you had, I don't know, you've talked about a lot. There's all kinds of things, because you have quite a few things here that you've touched on. You said you have some unusual things that happen?
Well, yeah.
Or that are requests, I guess, that maybe
Yeah,
are out of the ordinary?
Yeah, I had one situation once, just as an example, where an individual had a very highly priced piece of artwork, and he had given it to another individual to stretch and clean up, as they do in the art business. Well, he had this piece of art for a good year, and he could never get it back, and he was worried about it. So he hired me to find out, well, what's going on. What can I do to help him figure out what's going on with the owner of this shop?
Sure.
Well, I did. I ended up going to the owner's house three times. Woke him up one morning, and we drove over to his shop, and I retrieved that piece of art and gave it back to my client. Lo and behold, he turned around and was apparently sweet talked by that individual to still let him do the work on that piece of art. So he calls him back again about 6 months later, and I do the same thing again, only this time I get it and the client keeps it.
But you can't control what they do with this
No.
information you give them, or the whatever you do. So he could have kept calling you back.
Yeah.
Glad he got smart, I guess.
Well,
Eventually. One more time, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we'll talk a little bit more. It does go fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But we'll talk about some things that we haven't touched on, obviously. But tell us how we contact you again.
Okay, you can reach me by my telephone, which is 317-228-9200, or my email addresses, which is mmacke@vminvestigations.com or mdmacke@sbcglobal.net.
Okay, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I know we've got more to talk about, so it's very interesting. Be
One
right
little
back.
piddly example.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs and banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch classic movies on the big screen for the perfect Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
They don't. We're having quite a lively discussion here on Jennifer to the Rescue. I'm Jennifer Johnson, and you can check all my information out at jennifertotherescue.com. Bring really interesting, timely, things that you just don't think about. I had a show just a day ago that was real interesting. This is just topping all of them, I think, though. This is pretty exciting. Well, it's just, it's just interesting. You don't think about how people get the right information.
No.
You know, we're talking to Michael Macke with Vandermoere and Macke Investigative Services, and you are a licensed investigator. We've talked about a lot of things about what, you know, how you got to where you are, which was not just one day you decided to become a licensed investigator. You have quite a bit of experience.
Right.
Got you to that point. And we were, we kind of talked about a broad view, but what are some of the more timely? I mean, the society is so, it's changing. People are needing factual information because
that's the key word, factual information.
And that's what you do.
That's what I do. Surveillance, for example, if you need to know something relative to a child custody issue, or you want to know something pertaining to your spouse or your significant other. Now, Indiana is a no-fault divorce state, so the courts don't really care what the other person is doing unless it's relative to a child. But that doesn't mean that a spouse or significant other might not want to know what's going on.
Right.
So in those cases, that would be a situation where I could find out information relative to whatever the subject matter might be.
Okay.
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 So, everyone hears about surveillance for, fraud, workers' comp claims, injury claims, and yes, I do that as well. But it's these other ones relative to child custody issues. Is my estranged partner drinking and they shouldn't be drinking? Where are they living now, even though they've given me one address, they're never there? Who's taking care of my child? Is it him or is it someone else? There's all these questions that come up that you don't know unless you can actually see it.
Right.
Unless you can actually view it and attest to it. And that's what surveillance does.
Okay. So that must be an interesting...
Well, everybody's different. And that's what makes this interesting. It's just putting a puzzle together. These are just pieces.
I guess that I'm sitting here thinking, because you probably see things about people that you can't believe, and maybe you see good things too.
Oh yeah,
you see things that you thought were something else, and you find out the truth is actually this.
That's exactly right.
Okay,
that's true. You clarify. You're a fact finder. You clarify misconceptions.
Cool. That's good to know.
And
you never think, how does that happen? Because you're talking about the car, let's say a crash report or
right,
something.
A crash report. For example, a crash report.
Yeah.
You're involved in an accident. The crash report says whatever the investigating officer writes down, it may not be accurate. It may not be factual 100%. They may have missed writing down a key witness. They may have information that's not able to be utilized to find these people after the fact. You don't know until you go to look for it. You may have someone that utilizes a crash report as their only means of investigation. And if that crash report is incorrect, well, so will be everything else following that situation pertaining to liability or fault or whatever.
Okay.
And if it's not accurate, then the wrong people are going to be assessed the penalties or the charges or the liability issues.
So your services are very valuable. We didn't, until I sat down to talk to you about this today, I really didn't even realize how valuable.
It's if you have a need to know, a legal need to know, not a want to know. Although, I have looked for family members.
Interesting.
Where they've lost track of somebody. And that's a missing person. That's a locate for me. It's all the same procedure. I've had attorneys that have lost clients. I've looked for witnesses. I've looked for any number of people, but it's still the same procedure for me. And there's different guidelines on how I look for these people. If it's not a legal need and it's a want, then that's handled differently than it would be if it's a legal like a debt or like a service of process or something.
Interesting. Okay, so, I guess when I was saying the valuable thing, I mean, really, somebody just needs to call you,
Yes,
contact you if they're thinking, I wonder if this is something that they would handle.
I get that a lot.
So maybe a 10-minute, 15-minute call, you could probably figure out if it's something, and then you take it from there.
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly right. I had someone call me this morning about getting involved with another company in New York, wanting to know if they're going to be is an investment company of some sort. And they asked me what I could do relative to this investment company and their partners. And I explained about backgrounds and that kind of thing, and they're going to get back with me later today.
Wow. I had a flash. We have people from the Indiana Department, the Attorney General's office come in and talk about scams and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just talking about talking to this or checking out this company in New York or whatever.
Right.
And I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, there's all kinds of people that should be calling you when they're sitting there wondering, is this a scam?
Right.
And they should be talking to you. Can you check out? So that's what you do.
I can check that out too. Now, there's a lot of other resources for things that like scams.
The
but
Attorney
still,
General's office.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to displace anyone else or think that I can do things better in some cases. But in some cases I can.
Right.
You read about people all the time in the paper, how they didn't know this or didn't know that or couldn't find this family member or whatever, and I'm thinking, why didn't they just call an investigator?
Mm-hmm.
It could be just that simple.
So your perfect referrals or good referrals?
A good referral is anyone that has a need to know something, a piece of factual information. Now, to be more specific, attorneys would be a good referral. Insurance companies, insurance claims people would be good referrals. Business people, individuals, it's the whole gamut. It's whoever has a need to know. My tagline is, if you have a need to know, you need to know Vandermoere and Macke.
I know. I've heard that a few times. No, I think that's great. I was just sitting here thinking, it's just kind of, it's got to be kind of a fun job to know all your job is. I guess it would be hard not to get wrapped up in the emotional end of it. Do you ever work for family or anything, or is that kind of a no-no? Because you've got to be very objective.
You've got to be very objective.
Yeah.
And no, I don't. I'm able to displace myself from the sentiment. I can empathize with my clients, but what information I give them will still be black and white.
I think that's pretty cool because, see, for me, that would be really hard. So it's good to know somebody like you.
After you've done it for a long time, you're able to differentiate between the two.
Cool. One more time, your contact information, and then I'm just going to leave. We're gonna close it already. Can't believe it's over. But you'll come back, I hope, sometime, and we'll catch up. But your contact information.
My contact information would be my phone number, 317-228-9200. My email addresses of mmacke@vminvestigations.com or mdmacke@sbcglobal.net.
I don't know. I had a question that just kind of came to my mind and it blew out the window there for a minute. I can't remember. It'll come back to me after the show's over.
Well, naturally.
Well, this is really. We've met many times, and I knew what you. I thought I knew what you did. I think that's pretty cool. Now I get to. Do you know my? Oh, and Jennifer Johnson. We have such a good producer here. He's just reminding me. Check out Paid to Save, Jennifer Johnson, paidtosave.com/86755. And what is Paid to Save, you may say? Paid to Save is a savings company. Just happens to have a free downloadable app for your phone that you can save money where you're already shopping. Big box stores, little store. That's my little commercial. But I'd love to tell you more about Paid to Save. And JenniferToTheRescue.com. I always try to leave the show on an upbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I think you are an upbeat. I guess I was thinking I would get so drugged down or bogged down by the negative things, but like you said, you've learned how to get yourself beyond that. That's, and it's probably, maybe that's my question. In your licensing, there's probably something that says that that's part of your code or something, right? Or something, not to get wrapped up in your clients' lives. I mean, you're there to give them facts.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
there's always the ethics involved, and
Ethics.
I think ethics are always try to be upbeat. I'm a past president of the Indiana Association of Professional Investigators. I'm a past member of the National Association of Legal Investigators. I'm a member of the Association of Christian Investigators.
Wow.
So, I'm a former CASA, court-appointed special
Yes.
advocate. I volunteer with Indy Reads. All these things go into the ability to work with people and recognize what you're looking for your clients or for the folks that you're doing the investigation on.
So if you have a need to know, you need to know.
Correct. Vandermoere.
Vandermeere, Macke. Well, you know what? I always try, like I said, to leave on an up, and I don't know. This is Steve Jobs. It says your time is limited. I mean, you've done a lot of things that got you to where you are. You are obviously doing what you're very passionate about. It's
Yes.
exciting to see. I love it when I have a guest on. I've had a number of guests on that are right where they're supposed to be. So we're very thankful that you gave us some time today. But your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and your intuition. That was Steve Jobs. And you know what? You obviously have followed your inner voice to do what you're meant to do. I'm just so thankful you had time to come and join us today.
Well, I enjoyed it very much.
And
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
You're
Jennifer.
welcome. And we'd love to have you come back. And just remember, if you have a need to know, you need to know Vandermoere and Macke.
Correct.
And we will see you next time. And thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank you.
Very much fun. I'm glad
Okay.
to see you. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.